Hey traders, my weekend video real quick here. So some little takeaways I got going on here, guys. Friday we managed to push up into our end of month in a quarter call wall. It's at currently at 24,750 here on the NQs. Okay, and so just be very mindful of that going forward here. Okay, uh, sorry. So be very mindful of that. So they pushed us right up into potential being end of month positive gamma and found resistance right there. Still managed to close under the weekly VWAP. Okay. But we are inside of the week on week central pivot range. So this is our central pivot range. Going into next week with a completely flat central pivot area. Okay, so typically when you're looking on a week on week basis, you get a flat central pivot range. This is a indecisive. This is not supportive at all to the upside or downside. We don't know which way it's going to go. All I do know for sure is typically week on week, if you have a wide central pivot range that acts as a supporting force, we're going into next week, and we're not getting that support, and a lot of times that can be a sign of uh, uh, directional speculation come into the next week. So be very mindful of that with the central pivot range being so tight. I mean, it's just kind of like we're winding up a toy here, and the spring is getting really tight. So we have to be very mindful of the situation that we could be having uh, uh, a very explosive move setting up here in the markets. So, and I'm not saying bullish or bearish. I'm just saying, the ingredients are setting up here for a bigger move than what we have seen this past week. So let's see what happens here going into next week. Okay. We are above. This is our critical pivot now. We found that out all week long. All this consolidation there, which ultimately, yeah, Friday resolved to the upside. Okay, so we know this is our critical pivot area now, going into next week. Okay, uh, typically, if I'm looking for a change in tone in the markets, Nasdaq, you want the Nasdaq to actually be leading to the downside. We saw this past week; it necessarily was not. So let's be very mindful, uh, uh, cognizant of that situation. The Nasdaq to in the initial sell off this past week was not the leading force to the downside, and it just fun. It just looks like a pullback in time. Okay. Other things that I go look at here on the S&Ps, we're right into that pivot uh, on the ESs here. Um, the structure is a little bit different on the ESs. Uh, uh, they are uh, uh, how can I say this? The S&Ps are trading at a higher pivot level in relation to the all-time highs, and we're currently trading right into that pivot right there. We found support right where we should find support. I had this all charted out from last weekend. Okay, uh, and if you go over to SPX, the all-important 66 SPX, the all-important 6600. That was our put wall for the week, and we didn't spend much time at all down there. Okay. Now we do have a much tighter central pivot range here on the SPX going into this week. So technically, it doesn't take much to start accepting. Once you start losing that central pivot range, you're actually in price discovery on the week on week basis. So that's the problem is once you start losing that central pivot range and you're in a really tight, that suggests you're on the bearish side week on week inventory. Okay, so what is it this week? 66.37. So once you start pushing below 66.37, we could be flipping the script to a bearish week on week inventory early on in the session if that were to happen. So be very mindful. We did close on a slight bullish side week on week, completely flat on the Nasdaq. Okay, so basically the print we had on the NASDAQ doesn't give zero support if we open red Monday. Okay. Same way if we open green Monday, so we are so flat on the week inventory. I mean, it can go either way here on the NASDAQ. Okay. So just be very mindful here. So that's one of my critical indicators, is seeing how is price trading in relation to uh, the prior weeks. This right here was built out from the prior week's inventory. How it's opening in relation to the central pivot, the prior week's central pivot. It gives me a little bit indication which direction I should be early on in the next week, basing my trades. Okay. Uh, Russell. Russell's acting a little bit weaker, so we've had a bigger pullback in time. We are opening below that central pivot. So we know for a fact is 24.58, 24.58. That's really your bull bear week on week cross here on the Russell. Right here, right now, resistance should be looked at as shortable until proven otherwise. Basically, 24.58 is really our line in the sand and below our weekly PWAP. As long as we're staying under that, we should be shorting resistance until proven otherwise. So that just gives you a pretty quick and dirty look at what I'm seeing on that. Okay. Okay, guys, one of the most important things I'm looking at here is a back test of the weekly 5 SMA. We did manage to get that this week on the Russell. Okay, that's the only indice that we did get that with. But my primary thesis was to see S&Ps backtest its weekly 5 SMA. And we go over here. Okay, as we can see, we tend to walk the 5 SMA, and when we get away from that 5 SMA, we consolidate sideways until we get into that. So initially this week, what I'd be looking for going into next week is more sideways consolidation, because we're looking 3-4 weeks here potentially to sideways consolidation for this 5 SMA on the S&Ps to catch up. So just be very mindful, cognizant of that situation, uh, you know, uh, going forward here. So that's another thesis. That's why my thesis is still to the slight bearish side. Uh, you know, uh, Waiting for this catch up to the 5 SMA, and then we can decide if they want to take the markets even higher. Okay. The most important economic data of uh, this past week. It was very important economic data. Thursday, it was suggested that there won't be as nearly as many rate cuts, and we had to reprice the markets. Thursday or Friday, the data came in completely in line. So what did they do? They managed to short squeeze us back to the upside Friday. Okay, so that's just some takeaways that I got going on here. We do have Tuesday being the end of quarter. Okay, technically the absolute, a lot of fund managers, some of them get paid based off the options, OPEX, end of quarter OPEX. Other ones get paid off of the actual end of quarter date. Okay, so Tuesday is a really important time. There might be some fun. We might see some heightened fun changes going into Tuesday or there right after. So let's definitely keep a definite watch on that. We could have actually been seeing some profit taking early on last week to close out the end of quarter. So, and that's why we saw some rotation out of some of the tech names. So let's be mindful of that as well. So some really smart, to me, was surprising things that hit the market Friday was the squeeze in Tesla. That was my most biggest surprise. Given the data that came out Tuesday and the European sales in Tesla, I thought for sure, best case, we were going to consolidate into our week on week central pivot range and setting up for another leg down next week. That was my theory. coming into the session Friday. I'm personally glad I did my video there Friday, and I just went back to bed. I didn't even get up till about 10:30, and I was like, and then I saw what was happening, and I said, boy, I'm really glad that I didn't trade this morning, because a lot of the stuff that I was looking for just didn't materialize. And this is one that's really surprised me the most. Uh, the relative strength that we saw in Tesla Friday. Okay, so uh, I know sales in Tesla are probably going to be good because of in 2 days the uh, the tax credits expire. Okay, so there won't be any more tax credits. And the problem is with that, there's an expiration date on that. At any moment, we can start seeing profit taking in Tesla, in because of that situation. So I really thought that we would be down here at the bottom of the range in lieu of that profit taking, setting up for a move lower because of that. So uh, when you get surprised, you just got to sit back and rethink how you look at things. Another one, Amazon was one I was really watching. We right into this critical pivot buy zone. And if you go over here on the bigger time frame, this here is a major pivot. Okay, major pivot here on Amazon that has been acting as support, and we came right into that Friday. Okay, this for the third time actually. Um, and multiple times into that support. I was actually thinking that was a buy the dip. I was really getting quite interested into buying this, thinking that the weekly VWAP would be tagged in during the session. Well, they didn't even have enough strength here in, and then we did get Costco had pretty good numbers. I thought the ingredients were there for us to get a rally in Amazon, and it just could not uh, lift its head up to where I thought it would get. So if I would have been trading this from the open, I would have been trying to hold to the weekly VWAP, and guess what? That didn't happen. So that's another reason why I think I'm glad that one I didn't trade it. So okay, guys. So that's another thing. Another one, another theory that I had. Apple was going to come right up into this right here is a major pivot zone. Let me show you how I got it. 4 hour. Does it show it? Let's see here. No, I had to go bigger time frame. 1 year. Okay, so right over here, guys, this represents the high that broke down. And how can I get that? Market webs. And I'll zoom in right here. This was the topping area right here on the monthly. 258.26. That's whenever things started going bad for it. 258.26 right there, right there. And if you go over here, 258.05. So right here, this right here, I thought we were going to come up into the top of that bell curve here on the daily. And if you go over in a weekly with the extended time frame, you can see it a little bit better, I think. 360. Webs, guys. If you go over here now. Okay. So we know here, basically 258.40. That's where the volume came in to sell uh, Apple. I thought we were actually going to come in there Friday and tag that. So in the quarter here, we got 2 days to go. I still think that's going to be the case. That we're going to come up in here and we're going to at least back test this. 258.40 is my line in the sand going forward here. Okay, and we just couldn't do it there Friday. So it was important to note that. I was really looking for that back test there Friday. Possible start failing there. We couldn't even lift our heads that high. So, but I'm still thinking we're probably got a little fuel in there to close out the quarter here on Apple. Another one I'm looking at right here, United Healthcare. This to me looks like we're bear flagging. Okay. So a lot of people look at this, oh my goodness, this is a bull flag. To me, this looks like a bear flag because this is the all-time highs of United Healthcare, and we're right into that resistance, and we're not pushing above it. This is your anchored VWAP from that. We're not consolidating above that resistance. We're consolidating below that. Okay. So to me, this looks like a bear flag on United Healthcare. And remember, Trump's proposed 100% tariffs on pharmaceuticals, imported pharmaceuticals, and that happened this, as Thursday or Friday, I can't remember. And this is going to be devastating for the healthcare industry. The idea of all of a sudden that they're going to have to pay more for these imported pharmaceuticals. So just be very mindful of that. So that means you're trying to get the generics, uh, you know, at a discount to keep our health insurance cheap. That's going to be put on the back burner based on what Trump's trying to do here. If it has any sustained legs, which it sounds like it might have. So we have to be really on the lookout that our health care premiums are about to skyrocket. So be very mindful of that. But this to me looks like a bear flag given where we're at until we start breaking out above the 359 area. If we start breaking above 359 and holding, that's a whole different scenario. But right here and right now, I sure wouldn't want to be long United Healthcare. Another little warning sign that we do have in the markets, and it's not major here. It's Microsoft. This has been one of our leaders for some time now. We also saw this in Broadcom. It was one of our leaders as well. Uh, how Microsoft seems to be having a lot of trouble at its all-time high anchored VWAP. So just be very mindful of that. This is actually currently acting as a bearish. We're into a bear flagging into a resistance. Uh, so be very mindful of what's happening here with Microsoft potentially bear flagging here. And to finish the video out here Broadcom here. So basically we have lost the earnings anchored VWAP, and we are currently in a downtrend for anchored VWAP below both of them or currently. So like I said, Broadcom and Microsoft are showing some relative weakness, suggesting possibly end of quarter profit taking in those names. So some little things to think about going into this end of quarter, starting next quarter, that we could start seeing a major underperform in Microsoft and Broadcom for the next quarter. Okay, thanks a lot, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please like my video to get a chance. Comments below are appreciated, especially if you're seeing something I'm not seeing, and retweet me if you get a chance. Thanks.